Hello, today is June 19, 2022. Today we are going to talk about several major topics. The first one is that we will talk about the war and the situation in Ukraine in the last week and also in the last 24 hours. Um, Second, we'll talk about the U.S. continued tune down. Last week we saw like Biden was named like the president of Ukraine, and now there is more information coming out that the Biden actually asked his advisor to turn down the position on Ukraine war. Basically, U.S. feel like it seemed not to be able to win, and they try to distance themselves from the war. This is the second time they are doing so. They also will talk about the French, Germany, and their position difference versus U.S. and the UK, and also they also saw that publicly the difference. Another one is that a Russian president is turn up his tongue, basically even like an increased weapon to Ukraine. So we have a situation on the west side and the U.S. They are trying to turn down and became softer, while the Russian became even more emboldened. So that's a pretty bad situation for the West. Uh, let's start for the detail. Let's first go to the wall. This is a fair amount in the last 24 hours. We can see most of the fighting still on the northern side of the wall. In the middle here, Russians try to break through in here. This actually is one of the best strategy in that they have a very solid control on the Donetsk city. They have a very good supply chain. So if they push from here, they have least risk of being attacked from the counterattack, and also good supply chain. The Ukraine side is starting some offense on the Kherson region because possibly is also same reason they have good control on here. They have also good supply on the west. So they have a good position to attack. On the other hand, the east side, they are more limited by the ammunition and firepower. So they are more on the defense on the east side. So let's also go to the second map. This is the Severodonetsk city. This is pretty cloudy. So we can only see some Russian controlled region. So around this line, on this right side is controlled by Russian. On this is a chemical factory. About 80% of the factory is still controlled by the Ukraine. On the the ground close to the river, there is some Russian troop, but not a lot because this Luchansky region always can shoot artillery on this front, so it's pretty dangerous for Russian. So that's the basic picture of the image of the satellite image. Let's also look at the geographic map. We can see that the basic picture is still pretty much the same as last week. There is almost no big difference. The only difference would see the Advivka city is more and more being surrounded. This is a long city, so they are Russian trying to control the surrounding area. So this city, medium-sized city, is must have to be overcome in order to go through this big hub city. So this actually is, in my personal opinion, strategically the best city to take for the Russian, because see about the picture. If they take this city, the whole Kramatorsk and the Severodonetsk region is lost all the major highway to connect to the west, right? So in the meantime, because Russia has very good control on the Donetsk city, right? They have a good supply chain. Also, there is lots of building, and you can hide your military supply under some underground building, or like a basement building in the Severodonetsk region from attack by the Ukraine. So they probably have a good supply in here. If they attack this part, then pretty much both sides, like the southern side and the northern side, are very uncomfortable, right? So this, I assume, the Russian will do the same we project. So this will be the next big target for the Russian. So the Ukraine, if they can control, it's very difficult to control the. Once the Russian took over this city, it's very difficult to prevent the Russian from reach this city, because think about it, in the middle here, there is only a small village. So there is no way to defend it. There is another small town here. They probably will first go here and then overcome here. So, but in general, these two regions is very. There is not much obstacle for the Russian to move from this city to here. So I think this is going to be next big move for the Russian. In order to actually attack here, if they can cut off here, it's much more easier for them. So we will see what happens. This is the frontier. As we talk, there is not much change on the frontier on here. The Ukraine side still control most of the chemical factory, the fertilizer factory actually. This is the biggest fertilizer factory in Ukraine. So that in other ways damage to the Ukraine agriculture industry as well. Another thing is that Russians are very close to encircle the Bakhmut city. This probably also is their next big step. So that's the basic background. Very little change, but it seems to be that Russian has about 10 times more firepower. Like they shoot about 10 times more artillery cell to Ukraine position than Ukraine shoot to the Russian, because most of the military infrastructure was bombarded by the Russian. So that's what we talk about the last few times, that there is basically Ukraine side suffer very heavily on the soldier, like 100 to 200 deaths per day, 400 to 600 injury. That's about 500 deaths and injury per day, right? So that's very bad, and the Ukraine cannot sustain this kind of artillery attack. And in the meantime, we can talk about later. Russia actually continue to increase the artillery shipped to the Ukraine. So this is very bad news for the Ukraine side. Another side, I think last week we talked about the Biden was blaming Zelensky, right? Biden trying to distance himself from the war. Now, what happened is that Biden even tell the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the State that the U.S. Want to turn down their tongue. They originally the defense and the state secretary was saying that they want to support Ukraine to win the war and weaken Russia. Now they want to turn it down. See, we probably don't want to do that, right? So we want to change the to be a softer person. Basically, what happened most likely, like last week, we'll talk about it in the video that it's impossible for the West to win the war in Ukraine. Both a German and the French leader believe no matter how many weapons you send to Ukraine, the war is never going to be winnable. It's not winnable. So the United States and Biden also realize that they turn Biden blame Zelensky and they ask the Blinken and the defense secretary to also to soften their position and even one of the article was saying they hope Ukraine should talk to the Russian and they will not force Ukraine to give up territory. That also implies that they basically no longer hold a strong position and they know the war is not going to be winnable and they want to distance themselves from the war. So that's continue what Biden did last week. So that basically confirmed our guess last week, right? So this is another video from the Chinese CCTV, and they also talk about the same thing that the Austin and Blinken are being told by Biden to soften their position. I think this is the good news for the war, right? Potentially, we will finally see the Ukraine will soften their position and will start a negotiation with Russia and will maybe able to finish through a peaceful negotiation, which is good for Ukraine people and good for everybody. So you can say Scholz and the German president and also the French president, the Italian president Draghi and Macron also visited Kiev 2 or 3 days ago. And what interesting is that right after the three leaders visit the Ukraine, about 1 day later, the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Johnson also visited. So you can tell from this different trip of Johnson come after the three leader, you can tell very clearly that these three guys have a completely different opinion with Johnson. The two positions are so far apart, they don't want to trip in one trip, right? So do not believe the media saying the German leader, French leader, or Italian leader are supportive to Ukraine. Do not believe media saying that. They have a very clear position. They do not believe any military support will be able to help the Ukraine to win the war. Last video, we talk about that the German leader, actually prevented Italian to ship the German-made tank and artillery to ship to the Ukraine. They say, hey, this is our military, you cannot ship to the Ukraine without our agreement, right? So actually, German promised not artillery and tank, but they just very, very slow to ship to the Ukraine. They just ship a few of them. So according to Ukraine side, only about 10% of military equipment actually shipped to the Ukraine. Most are from UK and United States. The other European countries are very reluctant to ship the military equipment to Ukraine. So that's the real picture we have. So this is Johnson actually come after these three leaders. So you can tell their position are completely not together. Like they cannot sit together because they strongly disagree with each other. This is the Putin gave a speech recently in St. Petersburg, I think, or like they Russian has a forum. They invite their friend and the people in Ukraine, the leader the leader in Russia to attend the meeting, and the Russian president was saying they the Russian is stronger enough to overcome all the difficulty posed to them. Is pretty defending. This is another video saying from the Chinese TV saying most recently Russian uses the high precision weapon to destroy Azov like a battalion like office in Kharkov. This potentially implies that Russian is probably still going to attack Kharkov. Because think about it, like Azov, mostly of the Azov people are actually was in the city already been overcome by the Russian, right? So right now they are still talk about the Azov battalion. That's a big sign that they feel that Azov battalion is their continue their major target, because Mariupol actually was the headquarters and most of the military infrastructure for Azov battalion. This is Russia's major target to attack Ukraine. Basically, they want to eliminate the Azov, right? If they think Azov battalion in the Kharkov region is still a major force, then they may continue want to go there. So this is something potentially imply many other issues. So that's our overall a review of the Ukraine war and the other thing. We also want to elaborate a little bit more about the situation. So initially, when Russian trying to invade Ukraine, Russian gave a demand that they want the Ukraine never be join NATO, right? A second one, they want official admitted by the Ukraine, Crimea is Russian. So now, the West, straightforwardly deny both position. They say no, never, right? They will never admit that Ukraine will not be able to join NATO. Actually, at that time, several professors and politicians in the U.S. was saying, well, in fact, NATO is never going to admit Ukraine. Why not we U.S. Just admitted this? And also Professor John Mesmer from University of Chicago saying, Yeah, like Crimea is gone. Why not? We just admitted it, right? If we admitted the Russian like get what they wanted, then that's we can avoid the war, right? There is several people still saying so, but now after this, we can see United States position is weakening, and also United States didn't make a terrible mistake of reduce the dollar market, right? So Russian probably is never going to have a strong position on the dollar again, and all the other country also realize that United States can froze their foreign asset in dollar, right? This is what the U.S. did. Like most of the foreign exchange of the Russian was frozen, so they will be reluctant, much more reluctant to use the dollar as a reserve currency. So this is a terrible, terrible mistake by Biden. The U.S. dollar global market is probably the most valuable asset the United States has. That basically you can print the money and all the other global people will share the haircut, right? Share the depreciation. So this is a big, big damage to the dollar market for the United States. Another one is that because of the strong position of the Russian and the sanction about Russian oil, the oil market have a big surge, and also the raw material, including the fertilizer, because Russian and the Ukraine are biggest fertilizer maker and exporter. So all the agriculture, fertilizer, and the food under sanction also including food. So all the oil, raw material, fertilizer, food all increase many times. So that's caused a big inflation in the United States and also around the globe. And this caused U.S. has to increase the interest rate sooner, and the increased interest rate will damage the economy. I will actually try to reduce the number of coverage on the military and the war, and will add the more economic and the stock market, because actually there's going to be many opportunity in investment. And also many turbulence in the economic in the global market. So we will talk more about that. Maybe more beneficial to the listener and the viewer, because there is a money making opportunity going forward and also right now. So I will try to do that. Uh, Also, when we reduce the political and the war, like maybe the YouTube will give me more, like the viewer, they will not they will probably promote the video better. Uh, and for the U.S., we can make a summary. We spend about 45 billion US dollar on the Ukraine war, and we reduce the dollar market, right? Reduce the dollar as a reserve currency, and we reduce the international position and the privilege, because United States used to be a dominant leader, right? We are very powerful. Now everybody realize, like United States get into many war, most of them are losing, and we are also losing the war in Ukraine. Um, so they also we have to the inflation force. We have to increase the interest rate, and we will reduce the economic growth of the United States, and also reduce the boom period of this economic cycle. So this is also a damage to the national interest of the United States. The Biden original plan was trying to recover from Afghanistan debacle. That one actually was a small loss for the U.S. But now, after the Ukraine war, we turn into a big fiasco. So big defeat. I think Democrats really make something terrible. Like this is another terrible loss for the United States. And another one, actually, a long time ago, was Bill Clinton created the biggest, greatest threat to the United States. That is, Bill Clinton admitted China into the WTO and have so many lost the job for the U.S. manufacturing industry and also make China the biggest manufacturer powerhouse, and also they are making very advanced aircraft carrier right now and supersonic missile. Both Russia and China has supersonic missile. This is one of the key reasons I suggest the U.S. and other Western country and never get involved with the Ukraine war. Is no foreign, not any of the Western country, including United States, have the military power to win the Ukraine war because of the supersonic weapon, right? So any military involved by the U.S. and Western country, the Russian have the ability to kill all your most important infrastructure, right? Military infrastructure, either your cruise missile or your military headquarters or your important infrastructure, because there's no defense for the United States for hypersonic missile, right? So it's very stupid for the Biden to get into this one. And initially they try to remove Putin. They try to defeat Russia. This is very stupid for both Biden and his secretary. This is completely a disaster for the United States. What they are doing is just think so. Next time when some politicians say they will rob like $1 billion give to 1,000 people, don't buy that. Maybe you can get 1,000 from those rich people, but that's a robbery, right? You rob the rich and give to the poor. You lost one vote and you gain 1,000. That's a political way of a robbery, and this is a Roger and unethical behavior. So you don't want to vote for someone who use an ethical method to gain the vote, and don't do that. Because if you voted and they elected some stupid people go to the White House, the United States will lost in big time, right? We have to elect the people who really loyal and love United States to the White House. So thanks for watching my video, and I hope you learned something. And in the next video, I'll try to do some economic analysis about the war and the inflation and the macroeconomic picture. Because in the last 40 years, we have an economic boom cycle, and in the next 40 years, most likely we have a very depressed economy global-wise, and also in the United States, and also in the housing market. I will talk about more detailed analysis from Wall Street's point of view, from more professional economic their thinking. All right, bye now. If you like my video, please hit the like button and to subscribe. In doing so, the YouTube will increase the marketing and promotion of the video so that more people will be able to see it. Thanks. Bye now.